crazy to say that Back to the Future, one of the most beloved movies of all time, was turned down by every major studio in Hollywood, including Disney, who thought it was too wholesome, except for one weird detail they called inappropriate. The time machine wasn't even supposed to be a car. Michael J. Fox wasn't the first Marty McFly, and the actor who played Marty's dad got so intense during filming that he nearly started a real fistfight on set.
What are you looking at, butthead?
These are just a few of the absolutely wild stories hiding behind the DeLorean's gull-wing doors. So buckle up and get ready to dive deep into mind-blowing facts about your favorite sci-fi movie, Back to the Future, that grossed nearly $400 million worldwide on a $19 million budget, making it one of the biggest blockbusters of 1985.
Number 14. Eric Stoltz shot 5 weeks as Marty before being fired. Here's a fact that cost Universal Pictures nearly $4 million. Eric Stoltz was the original Marty McFly and filmed for 5 weeks before being replaced. Stoltz, who just starred in Mask, approached the role like a serious, dramatic actor. He insisted everyone call him Marty, even between takes. Christopher Lloyd later said he worked with Stoltz for weeks without ever learning his real name. During test screenings, audiences were confused and even disturbed by Stoltz's intense, brooding performance. At the first table read, while everyone else laughed at the script, Stoltz sat quietly and said the story was a tragedy about someone who remembers a past that no one else remembers. Tom Wilson, who played Biff, said Stoltz was so committed to method acting during their fight scenes that he actually hurt him, driving his hands hard into Wilson's collarbones. Wilson warned him to stop, but Stoltz pretended not to hear. There's allegedly one shot of Stoltz still in the final film. When Marty punches Biff in the cafe, that might be Stoltz's fist, not Fox's.
Number 13.
The time machine was originally a refrigerator that required an atomic bomb. The DeLorean is so iconic now that it's hard to imagine the time machine being anything else. But in the original 1980 script, Doc Brown's time machine was a lead-lined refrigerator powered by Coca-Cola and nuclear energy. Instead of lightning at the clock tower, Marty would have been transported back in time by entering the fridge to shelter himself from a nuclear blast at a test site in Nevada. Steven Spielberg was worried that children watching the film would see Marty getting inside the fridge and try to recreate the scene in their homes. In the 1980s, old refrigerators with latches were still common, and children had died after getting trapped inside them. The fridge idea was scrapped, but Spielberg liked it so much he eventually used it in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where it became one of the most criticized scenes in movie history. Sometimes rejected ideas are rejected for good reasons.
Number 12. Michael J. Fox literally lived on 2 hours of sleep for 3 months.
When Michael J. Fox finally got the role of Marty McFly, there was one massive catch. He couldn't quit Family Ties. For over 2 months, Fox lived in a time warp of his own. He'd wake up early, shoot Family Ties all day, then get driven straight to the Back to the Future set, where he filmed from 6 p.m. until 4 a.m. The production team installed a mattress in the car so he could nap during the drive between sets. Despite the brutal schedule, Fox never complained. Director Robert Zemeckis later said Fox would often forget his lines and had to improvise because he was so exhausted. That screwball energy viewers love in his performance. Part of it was genuine delirium from sleep deprivation. The fact that he pulled off one of the most iconic performances in cinema history while basically sleepwalking is nothing short of miraculous. Number 11. The script was rejected for being both too clean and too dirty. Here's something that sounds impossible. Back to the Future was rejected by studios for completely opposite reasons. When Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale shopped their script around Hollywood in the early 1980s, most studios passed because they thought it wasn't raunchy enough to compete with teen comedies like Porky's and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But when they took it to Disney, the family-friendly studio rejected it for being too inappropriate. According to Bob Gale, Disney executives told them, "You've got a movie about about incest and you're trying to pitch it as a family film. They were referring to the subplot where Marty's mother develops a crush on him in 1955. The script was rejected 44 times total before Universal finally said yes. Imagine if Disney had made Back to the Future. The movie landscape would look completely different today.
Number 10. Crispin Glover hung upside down for real and nearly got into legal battles. Crispin Glover's portrayal of George McFly was bizarre, both on and off camera. He thought the McFlys shouldn't be financially well off when Marty goes back to 1985, and said to Zemeckis, love should be the reward, not money. In Glover's words, Zemeckis got really mad. During filming, Glover stayed completely in character as George, refusing to respond if anyone called him Crispin. He insisted on hanging upside down for real in one scene, rather than using special effects, because he believed it made the character more believable. The crew found him so difficult to work with that when Back to the Future Part 2 came around, he wasn't invited back. He later filed a lawsuit after filmmakers used footage from the first film and put a mold of his face on another actor in order to fool audiences into thinking I was in the movie. Ultimately, a settlement was reached, with The Hollywood Reporter reporting he received $760,000. His lawsuit led to new Screen Actors Guild rules about using an actor's likeness without permission. Number 9. Huey Lewis rejected his own song in the movie. One of the most clever Easter eggs in Back to the Future happens in the first few minutes. When Marty's band auditions for the Battle of the Bands, they play a hard rock version of The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. The judge who stands up and tells them they're just too darn loud is Huey Lewis himself. This scene was intended as an inside joke, according to Bob Zemeckis. Lewis initially rejected the idea of cameoing in Back to the Future, just like he'd initially rejected writing the theme song. He only agreed to appear if he could be uncredited and disguised with horn-rimmed glasses and a nerdy outfit. There was originally supposed to be another line where Marty responds to the rejection by saying, "What do you want, Huey Lewis?" But it was cut for being too obvious. The scene becomes even funnier when you realize Lewis is literally rejecting his own #1 hit song. Number 8. The studio tried to rename the movie Spaceman from Pluto. Back to the Future almost had one of the worst titles in movie history. Universal Pictures executive Sid Sheinberg hated the name Back to the Future. He thought audiences wouldn't understand what it meant and sent Robert Zemeckis a memo with a better suggestion: Spaceman from Pluto. His reasoning? The scene where Marty dresses as an alien and calls himself Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan was the movie's real hook, and the title should reflect that. The memo even included suggested script changes to incorporate more space references. Steven Spielberg saved the day with a brilliant strategy. He sent Sheinberg a reply thanking him for the joke memo and saying everyone got a good laugh from it. Number 7. Christopher Lloyd almost threw the script in the trash. The role of Doc Brown fits Christopher Lloyd so perfectly that it's shocking to learn he nearly turned it down without reading it. When his agent gave him the Back to the Future screenplay, Lloyd wasn't interested. He'd just finished several exhausting projects and wanted a break from acting. So what did he do? He threw the script in the trash. Seriously, the only reason he gave it a second look is because his wife pulled it out of the garbage and convinced him to read it. Once he actually read it, Lloyd immediately called his agent to see if the part was still available. Lloyd based his performance on two real people: Albert Einstein, whose wild hair and manic energy he copied, and Leopold Stokowski, the dramatic conductor from Disney's Fantasia, whose theatrical movements he borrowed. The combination created one of cinema's most memorable characters, all because someone rescued a script from the garbage.
Number 6. The mall's name actually changes because of a tiny detail. Pay attention next time you watch Back to the Future. The mall where Doc demonstrates the time machine is called Twin Pines Mall at the beginning. But when Marty returns from 1955, it's suddenly called Lone Pine Mall, because when Marty first arrives in 1955, he accidentally runs over one of Old Man Peabody's pine trees. The filmmakers actually had two different signs made for the mall set and swapped them out depending on where they were in the story. The mall itself is real, Puente Hills Mall in City of Industry, California, and fans still visit the exact spot where the DeLorean hit 88 miles per hour. It's such a subtle detail that most viewers never notice it, but it's proof of how meticulously planned every aspect of the movie was. Even destroying a pine tree in the past had consequences in the future. Number 5. The DeLorean's doors constantly trap the actors inside. The DeLorean might look cool with its gull-wing doors, but it was a nightmare on set. Those iconic upward swinging doors were constantly jamming during production. Because the car sat so low to the ground, whenever they filmed on uneven pavement or inside a soundstage, the doors would stick shut. There are behind-the-scenes photos of crew members literally yanking the doors open with crowbars between takes. Sometimes they had to remove part of the roof just to let someone out. During one take, the hydraulic system failed completely, leaving Michael J. Fox trapped inside, sweating under the hot lights with no way out. The crew eventually had to partially dismantle the car to free him. Every time Marty smoothly exits the DeLorean on screen, remember that getting out of that car was often the hardest stunt of the day.
Number 4. President Reagan loved the joke about himself. In 1955, when Doc Brown hears that Ronald Reagan is president in 1985, he laughs and says, sarcastically, "The actor? It's one of the movie's best jokes, but it could have been a disaster." When Back to the Future was screened at the White House, staff members were nervous about Reagan's reaction to the line. But instead, Reagan laughed harder than anyone in the room. He thought it was hilarious, and even asked the projectionist to rewind the scene so he could watch it again. Reagan loved it so much that in his 1986 State of the Union address, he quoted the movie directly, saying, "Where we're going, we don't need roads," to Congress. The crowd went wild. How many movies get referenced in a State of the Union address? Reagan's good humor about the joke helped cement Back to the Future's place in American culture. Number 3. Johnny Be Good wasn't sung by Michael J. Fox. When Marty performs Johnny Be Good at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, it's one of the film's most iconic scenes. But that's not Michael J. Fox singing. The vocals were actually provided by Mark Campbell, a member of the 1980s band Jack Mack and the Heart Attack, with guitar work by Tim May. Fox learned to mimic the finger movements on the guitar to make it look believable, and he did such a good job that many people still think he actually performed the song. Paul Hansen, a famous guitar coach, spent weeks teaching Fox how to look like a real guitarist. The deception worked so well that Fox received offers to join real bands after the movie came out. He had to explain that he couldn't actually play guitar that well. It was all movie magic. Number 2. The film's ending was completely different until the last minute. The lightning strike at the clock tower wasn't always how Marty got home. In multiple script drafts, even after they'd switched from the refrigerator to the DeLorean, Marty's return home was still through a Nevada atomic bomb test. The film would have ended with Doc and Marty driving the DeLorean into the desert and using a nuclear explosion to generate the 1.21 gigawatts needed for time travel. Storyboards for this ending still exist, showing the DeLorean racing toward a mushroom cloud. The sequence was changed because it would have been too expensive to film and would have taken the story away from Hill Valley for the climax. The clock tower ending they created instead became one of the most perfect climaxes in movie history. Everything set up in the first act pays off, and it keeps the action in the town square viewers had come to know. Sometimes budget constraints lead to better creative decisions. Number 1. The actual fire trails behind the DeLorean were real and dangerous. That unforgettable shot of flaming tire tracks when the DeLorean hits 88 miles per hour, those weren't special effects. That was real fire. The crew created the effect by laying strips of gasoline-soaked cloth along the path where the tires would travel. Just before cameras rolled, they'd light them on fire and capture the flames in real time. Multiple takes were required to get the timing perfect. If the DeLorean wasn't positioned exactly right or the flames didn't ignite evenly, the whole effect would fail. The heat was so intense that actors had to stand just outside the danger zone. One wrong move and someone could have gotten seriously burned. No CGI, no computer effects, no green screen, just gasoline, matches, and perfect timing. Today, this would all be done with computers. But in 1985, they literally set the parking lot on fire multiple times to get that perfect shot. So these were 14 absolutely bizarre facts about Back to the Future that prove even perfect movies have imperfect beginnings. From Eric Stoltz's 5 Lost Weeks to Reagan laughing at his own joke, from a time-traveling refrigerator to Christopher Lloyd's script nearly staying in the trash forever. Every one of these behind-the-scenes moments could have changed movie history. Which fact shocked
shocked you the most? Did you know about Huey Lewis judging his own song, or that Michael J. Fox survived on 2 hours of sleep for months? Drop your favorite Back to the Future moment in the comments below. If you want more deep dives into classic movie secrets, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because where we're going, we don't need roads, but we do need subscribers so we keep making these amazing facts behind your beloved classic movies.
Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.